Dear student, welcome to my online class. Hope you are well by the grace of Almighty. Today I am going to discuss about chapter 4, agriculture and climate. So what do you mean by the climate? Climate means the weather condition prevailing in area in general over a long period. That means the weather is long lasting over a long period in a region that will be considered as a climate. Chapter 4, agriculture and climate. In this chapter, agriculture season, future of agriculture season, Rabi harvest, Kharif crops, season neutral harvest, and characteristics of these crops have been discussed first. There is in this chapter, first we discuss about the characteristic of the agriculture season and different types of crop season and neutral harvesting season and the future and characteristic of this season. And later, the impact of the weather and climate on harvest has been discussed. Later, the impact of weather and climate on harvest has been described. And after that, they have been discussed the effect of weather and climate on the harvest season. Beside this, the idea on adverse weather and climate, excessive rainfall, hail, drought, flood, waterlogging has been provided. Beside this, idea on unfavorable weather, climate, that means such look like excessive rainfall, drought, flood, waterlogging has been provided with. And harms caused by such environmental odds and have also been discussed. And all type of environmental difficulties harm the crop productions. So that will be discussed in our chapter. Lesson 1, agriculture season. From our reading of chapter 4 in class 6, we learned about the significance of weather and climate for the harvest. And what crops will grow in which area depends on the climate of that particular region. So to know about the types of harvest of an area or a country, we should be aware of the climate of that region of the country. In class 6, in chapter we have learned climate of the region and what type of crops will be befitted to a climate of area of the region. If we want to more crops, we need to know about the climate of a region of a country. Temperature, rainfall, wind flow, sunlight, air pressure, humidity, etc. are the elements of the weather and climate. And these are the elements that impact the harvest. If we consider the geographical location of Bangladesh, sea level, distance from the sea, temperature, humidity, and rainfall, it becomes noticeable that the climate of Bangladesh is a subtropical monsoon type. We are geographical location in a subtropical monsoon type. Subtropical means relating to a characteristic of a region adjacent to a bordering or a tropics. And monsoon means the season of heavy rain, wind that brings rain. That means the word can say that the heavy rain that falls during the summer in all Asian countries. We are living in a subtropical monsoon type. It falls in a temperature type and moderate rainfalls, temperate wind, and moist summer are the main aspect of the climate of Bangladesh. This type of climate is very much favorable for the agriculture production. So that means we are living in the monsoon area, subtropical monsoon area, and which more helpful to produce the crops in agriculture production. The cropping period taken from the seed sowing to the maturity of the crop and through its physical growth, production of the flower, fruits is considered as a cropping season for that particular crops. So crop period, we will discuss about the crop period, and which will be the sowing seed from to the maturity of the crops, and it will be considered also the physical growth and production of the fruit and flowers and fruit is considered as a cropping season for the particular crops. This time and range between the seedling and reaping is known as the season of the harvest. From seedlings into the reaping of the harvest, this will be considered as the harvest season. Growth of the different types of crops in different area of Bangladesh and different of the climate of Bangladesh. We have discussed about both of the different types of crops and different on the climate of any area. Based on the basis of this type of impact of the climate, the growing crops of a calendar year has been divided into two seasons. One is a Rabi season, another one is a Kharif season. And Rabi season period between the Ashin and Falgun is called the Rabi season. Maybe it will be started from September to February. And at the onset of the season, Bangladesh experiences a rainfall, but it rains very slightly. During the season, temperature, humidity in the wind, and rain all this will fall in a less amount. humidity, wind and rain also in a less amount from than another season. And another will be the Kharif season, a spell between Chaitra and Bhadra is known as the Kharif season, and from Chaitra to Bhadra, Bengali month, and it will be known as the Kharif season. And Kharif, this season is also divided into two phases. One is the Kharif one or summer, and two is Kharif two or a rainy season. Kharif one, time spent from Chaitra to Jyeshtha is called the Kharif. This season is mainly a season of the summer. During the season, the temperature tend to be high, and there is hot humidity. Storms and hailstorms occur sporadically, and occasionally there will be a hailstorm, thunderstorm. And Kharif too, the time from Ashad to Bhadra is known as the Kharif two or a rainy season. During this time, it rains heavily. Air contains a high humidity, and the pressure tend to be a moderate. There is no high temperatures, but rainfall is very heavy in this season. The crops that are affected by the temperature, rain, and humidity during of the length and etc. categorized on the basis of the season. That means on the basis of rain, humidity and duration of the length of the time, and the crops are affected on the temperature. The crops that are affected by the temperature and rain, humidity and duration of the time and length are categorized on the basis of season. This classification is not that much applicable to the perennial trees and like fruit trees and social forest trees and medicinal crops. So sporadical means an occasion. So perennial means lasting or remaining active throughout the year or all the time. That means that trees and which is active throughout the year and for a long time it will be called perennial trees. Lesson 2. Crops of Rabi season. Rabi crop. If any crops spend the entire or the most of the Rabi season for their physical growth, blossom and fructification, they are known as Rabi crops. If any crops lasted the whole duration of the Rabi season for their physical growth. Physical means the bodily, and growth means the process of increasing in size. And blossom means the state or period of flowering. And fructification, that means the process of fructifying. What do you mean by the fructifying? Means and make something fruitful or productive. That means any crops which long lasted for whole Rabi season for their physical growth, blossom and fructification, they are known as Rabi crops. They also called the winter crops because and especially the crops sow in the winter and weaken reef in the time of winter. So that is called also the winter crops. If you want to learn about the characteristic of the Rabi crops, we should know about the aspect of the Rabi season. But if you want to know about the feature or traits of these Rabi crops, we should know about the characteristics of the Rabi season. Aspects means characteristics. The aspect of the Rabi season are: what is the characteristic of the Rabi season? 1. Low temperature. There is no hot temperature in the season, and insufficient rainfall. Especially in the winter season, there is no rainfall. Low humidity. Humidity means the moisture in the atmosphere. Less possibility of storms. In the winter season, there is no possibility of any winter storms or rain. Less fear of hailstorm. Hailstorm means storms of heavy hail, thunderstorms. Less rate of flood. That means in the winter seasons, there is no chance of rain. That is why there is no threat of flood. And 7. Fewer hazard of disease and pests. There is fewer means and less hazard means less danger of diseases and pests. Especially pests means a destructive insect or other animal that attack the crops and float in livestock and etc. Needs irrigation because in the winter season there is no rainfall, and that is why we'll have to give irrigation to our crops. A long night than that of the day. At the time, the day is short, but night is longer. From the characteristic of the Rabi season, we can understand what type of crops grow in the season. The crops that need low temperature are cultivated during the Rabi season, and at the times we can cultivate the low temperature crops. Horticultural crops are like potatoes, cauliflower, cabbage, carrot, grout, bean, nolkal, coffee, or broccoli, turnip, spinach, onions, garlic, and etc. are cultivated in the season. Field crops and the crops and which are sowing in the field are cultivated at that time, including the bodo rice, wheat, mustard, linseed, lentil, chickpea, black plum, Kishari, etc. and date juice is collected during the season. Lesson 3. Crops of Kharif season. If any crop spend the whole or most of the Kharif season for their physical growth, blossom and fructification, that means any crops which is long lasted for whole Kharif season for their physical growth, for physical process of growing of size, and blossom, the process of flowering and fructification, that means makes something fruitful or productive. They are known as a Kharif season. That means the crops which is long lasting the whole Kharif seasons for their physical growth and blossom and fructification, they are known as a Kharif crops. So if you wanted to learn about the characteristic of the Kharif crops, and we should know about the aspect of the Kharif season. Similarly, if you want to know the characteristics, then we'll have to know about the some key features of the season. The aspect of the Kharif season are high temperature, that means temperature is more than 30 degrees Celsius. It is very hot and humid temperature. Heavy rainfall in the season, we will see the rainfall is very heavy. High relative humidity, that means humidity is higher than winter seasons. In the moisture in the air is very heavy. More possibility of storms in this season. We will see the monsoon storms is flowing from the northwest side, and more fear of hailstorms. That means there is a chance of more thunderstorms and more threat of flood, because frequently we will see the flood rain in the seasons, and that is why we face the more threat of the flood. More hazards from the disease and effects. More, that means the more dangerous for diseases and effects. And irrigation almost not needed. That means we will see the frequently there is rain, and that is why we do need to almost irrigation. Day length is longer or equal to the night time. That means most probably in day and night is more equal. The crops and that require the high temperature are cultivated in Kharif season. We will see in the Kharif season we cultivate the more high temperature crops, and this season is divided into two phases. One is Kharif 1, and in a Kharif 1 it rains and moderately in the season, and showers start at the end of the season. Moderately means within a reasonable limit. That means in this Kharif 1 rains with a reasonable limit, and also start the rain shower at the end of the season. Threat of nor'wester hailstorm. Nor'wester means a winter storm blowing from the northwest. The dust or hailstorm means thunderstorm is higher in the season. That means a winter storm blowing from the northwest and thunderstorm is higher in the season. Many parts of the country are seen to be vulnerable to sudden river swelling floods, sudden flood, and high temperature and moderate humidity are experienced in this season. And high temperature, hot temperature, and moderate humidity, and with a decent humidity, moisture in the air are experienced in the season. And disease and insect attract the crops in the medium scale. We will see disease and also the insect attack the crops in the medium scale, in the medium range, and moderate irrigation is needed for growing crops. And certainly we will see the 10 or 15 days there is no rain at that time, so we need irrigation. And seed crops is the reason are zote and sesame. But dantor date, taro, moki, kochu, okra, sisinga are rich grout, and jinga and bitter grout, Kerala, and pointed gourd and patal and pumpkin, etc., and mango, blackberries, and jackfruit, papaya, watermelon, melon, all these fruits mellow during this time. So we will see these types of hot temperature crops we will see in this Kharif 1 season. And Kharif 2, it rains heavily in this season. That means the times the rains we will see the heavily, and there is a less threat of just hailstorm, but there is no chance of thunderstorms or hailstorms, and but flood is quite alarming in these times. At the times when rain is very heavy, excessive heat prevails, and air contain humidity profusely in the season. We will see in the season there is excessive heat and hot temperature, and what contains the most moisture very high, and disease and insects and attack the crops in large amount. And at times the disease and insect attack the crops in very highly. Manufactured irrigation is not required. That means we will not do the manual irrigation that must for growing the crops. And seed crops in the season are almond rice, aquatic sprout, panikochu, and sprout. That means chalkumbra, okra, dharosh, snake kraut, sisinga, rift kraut, zinga, and sponge kraut, dondul, etc. And farm amloki. We will say the gooseberry or Myru blanc, pineapple, golden apple, ambra, guava, and late maturing mangoes, and jackfruit and pomelo, jambur, and these male fruits during the season. In the Kharif, we will see this type of hot temperature crops. Look at the homework, and we'll have to do the creative questions and write down in your copies and submit it through the Google Classroom. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.